without beating your chest. This is the topic that I want to talk about because I have been preparing several of my humanitarian clients to get P5 and UNRC roles. And in this conversation that I was having with them, this topic keeps coming up in various different ways. And this might be coming up for you, whether you are in the humanitarian sector or whether you are transitioning. This topic might be very relevant because you might be using other words like personal brand or name recognition, whatever the ways that you are using. This will be very valuable to think about and to start structurally, systematically answering these questions and acting on them. So, as I was preparing my amazing clients to the promotions and to getting the higher level senior executive roles, and in this conversation, we were talking about how are you currently visible and how would you like to be visible even more if the current way is not that you would like to, right? And in this conversation, whenever I have wisdom, the topic that comes up immediately, which says, oh, but I don't want to be visible that way. I don't want to be beating my chest like other people are doing. Or I don't want to be promoting myself and feeling icky about it, feeling like, ugh, that's not who I am. And then what they tell me often is that what they then do is they go to the other extreme, which is where they don't even want to be visible at all because they see other people's way of self promotion and they don't like it. And then they go to the extreme, to the other side, right? And you probably can relate to this because I work with amazing humanitarians who are so good at what they do, but the idea even of self-promotion makes them like nauseated or sick, and they just don't want to even think about it. But we are currently living in a world where visibility of your work, of who you are, is becoming way more important than ever used to be in the past. And of course, we can blame everything and anything and keep in that space, but that's not going to serve us if we're going for a promotion, if we want to increase our impact, if we want to work on things that really matter to us. Then we may need to start understanding what visibility is, how do we want to be visible without beating ourselves on the chest, as my clients would say, right? So I have come up with at least 3 ways that you can systematically start applying it, even if you're not applying any other way, so that you can at least ease yourself into, okay, this is or this feels good for me to do, and let me learn or let me start thinking about how to do it best. So the first one is your results at work. And this is probably, I don't even need to talk about it, but I feel like a lot of people have not really paid attention to what kind of impact or results they are creating currently in their lives, especially in times when things are very hectic, things are very stressful, things are very like disorganized and chaotic, maybe, where a lot of people are trying to survive and struggling through a lot of different things, that we may lose the sight of what kind of results and impacts we are being visible for or not visible for, right? Because either way, we're probably visible in some way. Either we're visible for things that we don't like to be visible for, or we are visible for things that we want to be visible for. So we want to get intentional about what results and what impact those results are having, that we can then safely and confidently say that this is what I have contributed to, or this is how I led my team and us to get to this outcome, and then owning that result and impact. So, in other words, what are the results that you are creating that are selling your name? If we go in another way of looking at it, right? So our results, our processes of how we do things, and our personality are always selling something about us, or always advocating on behalf of us, either for the good things, or for the great results, or for the great perspectives, or for the worst, right? So we want to understand what our results and impact are talking about, or are advocating on our behalf, or selling on our behalf. And the other thing that in that context you want to understand is this the result that's in line on the same scale as the job or promotion you are going for, right? So for instance, let me take one of my clients' examples. So if we are getting him to P5 level, UN P5 level, in a particular context, then the results that he wants to be visible for should be in line or similar to the level that he's going for, right? For the P5 level. So the questions that you can ask yourself is, are my results currently reflecting my P5 level competencies or no? And if not, what is the way to level it up to get to that P5 level that I want to go for? Right? Another way that you can reflect on this is that, let's say that you are going for let the UN resident coordinator position as an example, right? And if you're going for that resident coordinator position, then what are the results at that level? What are the competencies at that level that need to be demonstrated? And are you able to currently demonstrate those competencies in the way that it feels for you no brainer? Even if you got the RC job tomorrow, you are already set to be doing and performing that work, right? So all of the results and impact that we create, they come from certain competencies, certain skill sets, certain expertise that we already possess. And we want to demonstrate not only those results and impact, but also all those competencies in the process, so that we can say, okay, this is these are the competencies that I have used that led us to this result, and therefore to this impact, and feeling confidence even through creating those results, that you start getting ready for those promotions and for those next level changes. So the way to get visible without beating your chest, or without feeling bad, or feeling weird about self-promotion, the best way that I know how, and the best way that you could also look at your results and say, the best way I can create my visibility through the work of creating concrete or tangible, visible results, especially systematic results, meaning results and impact that systematically change those people's lives, or those colleagues' lives, whoever's life you're changing. That is what will get you visible in the way that other people are talking about you without you even trying to promote yourself, right? So I always ask my clients, how do we get you doing or creating results and impact that other people are talking and can't help themselves but talk about you, and talk about you in the great light without you even being present in that room? What are the what kind of results and impact that should be that others are talking about and feeling like, oh, I would like to work with this person, or I think even if I hire this person, I know that this person will get the things done at that level, and therefore I don't even need to like justify or question whether I should hire this person or not, right? So that is the best and the undisputable way to be visible. The second thing that you want to look at is the personality. And I will go into details more about what I mean by it, but the reason why this is important is because currently you probably are competing with other people who are also amazing in their CVs, in their work experience, in their expertise, probably at the same level as you, maybe even more. So we are not often able to even compete on the expertise level because there are a lot of amazing experts who are doing this work, who have been doing this work. So if you are looking at how many years they have worked on this and how many years you have worked on it, maybe the years are even more than you have, whatever it is, that on the expertise and experience level, we may not often be able to even compete with others because they might be as amazing as you are or maybe more. So therefore, the other distinguishing factor that can help in this process is your personality. And managers, panels, when they are discussing and deciding on it, they may have great arguments for why this person is qualified, why that person is qualified. And then imagine if all of them are qualified and they are all great in terms of expertise and experience, then what will make the difference? And it might be a personality. Now, we all know what kind of personalities exist in the workplace, especially in the humanitarian sector. So you are probably not surprised about them, whether this is a personality that gets stressed out, whether this is a personality that gets things done, whether this is a personality who carries all of the operation and backbone of the operation, or this is a personality who is busy with self promotion and politics that you just feel like, what are you doing, right? So there might be a lot of different personalities, but what is important for you if you want to be visible without beating your chest, then you need to start looking at what kind of personality you have that is making you currently visible to others. And most importantly, who are you being visible to with that personality? So, personality may consist of attitudes, right? So, how you approach things. It may constitute emotional state, meaning how you emotionally manage things in the day. Are you the type of person who lashes out at others, or are you the type of person who keeps suppressing but also hating everyone else? Or are you the type of person who's overwhelmed and exhausted and can't handle things? Or are you the type of personality who feels great and refreshed and vital and problem solving and doing this all the time? So I was coaching a client yesterday, and what I loved about her attitude that she said, "Oh, I love solving problems and dramas because I'm so good at solving any drama." And I was like, that's amazing. I rarely meet humanitarians who say, I love solving drama. I also myself don't like dramas, and I even try to avoid drama. So therefore, whenever there is a drama, my brain immediately goes to, oh, that's not what we should be doing, right? And while that's human, we also need to understand that at workplace there will always be a lot of different personalities, and we all know that. Now the question is, how are we connecting and working with them in the most constructive way versus keep hating on them or keep judging them, keep feeling like they shouldn't be there. And again, I was one of those people who also felt like, oh, you shouldn't be at this level or at this position. I hear you. But at the same time, that personality that you are bringing to the office is be making you visible in whichever way, right? As I said, you will be visible through your results, through your personality in either a great way, in the positive light, or in the negative light. So we would just want to start checking with ourselves what kind of personality we're bringing to work and how that personality is making us visible. Now, I also have clients who tell me that I am probably considered a troublemaker at work, right? So that's the personality that they might be known for. Now, we can also be troublemaker in the positive sense, meaning that we start changing things that are systematically not working, and everyone feeling like, oh, finally, thank you for helping us work better and getting rid of so many things that didn't work, but we kept doing it anyway, right? So there might be those type of troublemakers. But then there might also be troublemakers that everyone feels like, oh, don't even talk about this because we've talked about it a million times. And if you keep talking about it, we just see you as a troublemaker who every time has to make a trouble about this, and we can't handle it anymore, right? So that's another way to be known as a troublemaker. So in the personality lane, once you see what you are visible for, meaning what kind of personality you are bringing to the office and how other people perceive you, you start looking at whether anything that you are doing at work is coming out of ego or you are doing it out of genuinely wanting to contribute and make the difference, or whatever the your purpose or your motivations for which you are doing things. So ego will make you keep judging other people, so that will make you lose connection with other people, right? Because if you keep judging others, meaning, oh, that they shouldn't do this, they should da, 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 then you are losing connection with them, and other people who are judged, they will feel that even if you're not saying it. So ego is making you judge a lot. That's the one thing that we need to work through and remove. Ego will also make you feel like it's all about you and not about the impact that you are going for. Because if you keep making it about you and how you are the one you should do things and get the visibility or whatever it is, then obviously you are being seen as the person that other people don't like, right? The self promotion that we don't like is the reason why we don't like is it's coming from ego of, look at me, this is me, I'm the greatest, and if you're not looking at me, then you are wasting your time, kind of thing. That energy we don't like. So therefore we need to be clear for ourselves. How are we acting? Are we acting from ego, or are we acting from genuine integrity of wanting to do things well? And if we are acting from the genuine integrity, people will also know. They will know it all the time. They will feel it, right? Because the genuine integrity to doing things will allow us to connect to other people, allow us to collaborate with other people, allow us to hear other people, and also act in that aligned way. So that's why in your personality, you want to look for what is the energy, what is the attitude, what is the emotional state that I'm coming to work with, and also what is the actions that I'm taking from, are they coming from ego, of me wanting to somehow get something from it, or making it about myself, or am I doing it genuinely because these are my value systems and I'm following them and I'm acting from the best interest of the people that I want to work for, and how we can do that. Excuse me. And then the last point is, if we want to be visible in the way that we like without beating our chest, then we want to look at how we make other people feel. And I think this is one of the, maybe even the biggest of all the points above, but I wanted to do it as a third point simply because I think we don't often look at it. We're not trained to look at how that is, or how we might be making other people feel. And therefore, because we're not trained, but we're more trained on seeing our results and impacts and seeing how our personality is, I thought at least you get going with those. And then the third part is probably the biggest, that makes you visible either in the positive light or in the negative light. Now, how you make other people feel also doesn't mean that you should be just people pleasing them and not saying anything and just like trying to be liked by everyone. That's also a very unhealthy way to be visible for, because then other people will see you as someone who doesn't have their own insights and perspectives and their own integrity. So you will be seen in the negative light anyway if you keep just people pleasing everyone and not say anything, right? But the way that we know that if we're making other people feel, or how are we making other people feel, is if we are always approaching conversations from the place of connection and not from the place of judgment. So, in other words, being open to connecting to other people on the human level, hearing and listening to them deeply, making them feel safe while us feeling safe in that conversation, so that they can discuss things and say and voice things in the way that maybe even critical, maybe even brutal and honest, and all of those things. That will create the sense of they matter, I matter, and we are able to create this safe, healthy space to be discussing things. The opposite is of how we make people feel bad, or how we may be known or visible for not being a great professional or great person to work with, is if we are obviously dismissive, if we are judgmental, if we are not creating safe space, meaning we just ignore what they're saying, we're not able to listen to them. Maybe even we indulge in misconduct of bullying them, yelling at them, getting our emotional outrage on them. Or if we are stressed out too much that they don't feel safe or welcome to be talking to us. If we are exhausted and overwhelmed ourselves, that we just give out this sign that says, I can't even handle my own situation, don't even talk to me, whatever those things. That's how we make other people feel not safe, so that they don't even want to talk to us, or they talk to us only on the minimal. Or another way that we may feel unsafe other people is when we keep micromanaging and they feel like they don't feel the trust from us, and therefore they then see you as a person that's difficult to work with, right? So another way that you can really look at, okay, are you being visible for someone who is difficult to work with, or are you being visible for someone that people would love to work with? And you also know this from your own experience of working with other people, right? So even if you look at your supervisor or your supervisee, and then if you look at their visibility, meaning that how are they visible for? Do you love working with them? And if you do, then what will be your reasons for? And therefore, you will start realizing, the reason why you want to work with them is because they make you feel a particular way. And how do they make you feel? And then you can start looking at, okay, if they behave this way, then I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel respected, trusted, and therefore I love working with this person, right? And the opposite is also true, right? These are the things that make me feel unheard. They make me feel dismissed or ignored or stepped on, or not safe or bullied, whatever it is. And therefore, this is a difficult person to work with. So once you start understanding how you make other people feel is one of the fastest way to get visible, whether in the positive or the negative. Once you start realizing and being aware of, then you start realizing, oh, that's not what I want to be visible for, right? I don't want to be the difficult person to work with. And what are the things that make me a difficult person? And then how do I solve it? And then once you start solving it, then you start also seeing the impact of that behavior that you have. So, as I highlighted in the beginning, that we can continue being visible for something that we may not even be aware of. And if we start wanting to visible in the way that we want to, in the intentional way, without beating our chest, without self-promoting in the egoistical way, or whichever the way that you don't like being visible for, then we want to start understanding, okay, what makes us visible and how we want to be visible for, or what we want to be visible for, right? And therefore, these three ways to really start looking at, okay, am I visible for results, and what kind of results and impact I'm visible for? What kind of personality I'm visible for, right? What is my personality saying about me, and how my personality is advocating on my behalf or selling on my behalf, whichever the way you want to use it. And then the third is, how do I make other people feel when they work with me? And how do I feel with other people when I work with them? And then when you start looking at these three elements, you start realizing, okay, this is the way that I am visible that I don't like, or this is the way that I'm visible that I like and I want to reinforce it. And here are the things that I need to work on to make myself visible in the way that I want to. And that's the key crucial moment for us to then start putting into action and then start seeing the changes that we experience around us. Okay, my dears, if you would like to work on your visibility at workplace, or as you're transitioning to a new workplace, absolutely come coach with me. I would love to support you in this process.